What is up, everyone? Boji here, back at it in Raid Shadow Legends, and this weekend we have a 10 times summoning event, so let's jump into it. Alrighty guys, so yes, we do have a 10 times summoning event. It does seem like the schedule is getting back to normal. Now that doesn't mean that there aren't going to be any like special cases going along with these events. Plarium has been, I guess, experimenting with some things, so definitely look out for that. But this is going to be a normal 10 times from what we understand. So definitely make sure that you are checking the portal, hitting that information button starting tomorrow. You'll see all the information right here. And do remember that the epic and legendary chances do not go up with 10 times summoning events, just the chances at getting the specific champions. Also, I do want to mention that it is going to go alongside the Summons Rush, which is needed in order to finish the Underpriest Brogni Fusion. With the Underpriest Brogni Fusion, pretty much you had to participate in every single event and make sure that you grab the fragments from there, unless you got lucky and got first or second in some of the events. But it was pretty much noted that you will need to participate in everything just to make sure you do get the needed fragments. But yeah, so Summons Rush is no exception for that, so definitely make sure you're checking up on that. I don't mean to say that you need to go out and buy shards and stuff like that. You can use your mystery shards. It will just take a little while in order to get to that point. In order to get those fragments, we do not know the points needed for those specific fragments until tomorrow, until the Summons Rush event pops up. But yeah, so just make sure you are checking on the Summons Rush, make sure that you are getting the correct points. This 10 times event, I should say, isn't too bad. It has some pretty cool champions, and let's go ahead and jump right into that because I know that's what you guys are here for. I will have content chapters down in the description if you just want to jump to specific champions in my discussion about them. But yeah, so the common thing with all these champions are in their kit, they have the possibility of getting extra turns or do take extra turns. So the first champion we're going to go ahead and look at is actually a pretty cool one, and it's Deacon Armstrong from the Sacred Order. So this one is a newer champion. Support champion. On the A1 has an attack one enemy two times. Each hit has a 30 or 45% chance if you book it, placing a leech. I love the leech debuff. Allows for sustain without the lifesteal set or something like that, so definitely a good A1. On the A2, we have Sweeping Retribution. Attack all enemies, has a 100% chance if you book it, placing a 60% decreased defense debuff for 2 turns, and you can drop it down to a 3-turn cooldown. AoE, decreased defense, always a great thing, especially when it's a 100% chance. You do have to book it for that, but 80% chance without book isn't that bad at all. On the A3, we have Time Compression, fills the turn meter of all allies by 15%, and decrease the turn meter of all enemies by 15%, then grants an extra turn, and then you can book this down to a 3-turn cooldown. Pretty dang good ability. You're increasing your turn meter, decreasing so your opponent doesn't take their turn right away, and you're granting yourself an extra turn, which pretty much means that the Sweeping Retribution, once you book it, is actually on a pretty much a 2-turn cooldown. So yeah, very good ability on the A3. And then you have an aura for increased ally speed in all battles by 19%. Always a good aura. Speed is pretty much king in this game. So yeah, so really good epic in order to get from Ancients or Sacreds. The next one we're going to look at is an orc named Robar. So Robar, a legendary attack champion. I do not have too much experience with Robar. I do not have him. So on the A1, we have Stunning Strength. Attack one enemy, has a 50% chance of placing a stun debuff for 1 turn. Grants an extra turn if this debuff is successfully placed. Unfortunately, you don't get a higher chance with books, just damage. But pretty cool ability on the A1 specifically. On the A2, we have Wild Swing. Attack all enemies. Each hit has a 75 or 100% chance if you book it of placing a decreased defense debuff for 2 turns, and you can book it down to a 3-turn cooldown. And AoE decreased defense, always a good thing, so definitely a good ability there. And then on the A3, we have Merciless Assault. Attack all enemies. Damage increases if the target is under a sleep, stun, or freeze debuff. And it's just attack percent books right here. I could imagine this being pretty cool in Arena, or if you have like a freeze comp and you're having a hard time getting through Doom Tower waves, but nothing too special here. Typically the sleep debuff is not something you normally place, and freeze and stun are very specific to champions, so yeah, pretty cool though overall. And then you have an aura, increase ally accuracy and faction crypts by 50. Pretty cool for actual faction crypts. Actually thinking about it, this could actually be a very good champion for faction crypts. Overall, you have the AoE defense or decreased defense, and you have some extra damage coming out, and you typically do run some CC in your faction crypts. So yeah, not terrible. His speed is absolutely terrible though, 87. He is extremely slow. Not a bad champion, but not anything I would technically go after, so yeah. Next we have some Undead Horde, and it is going to be Anax. So Anax, a relatively new champion as well. I've heard he's done really good things in Clan Boss, but yeah, attack champion. So on the A1 we have Piercing Shotels. Attack one enemy 2 times. Each hit has a 35% chance if you book it of placing a decreased defense debuff for 2 turns. The big version, and honestly this is actually a really good A1 considering decreased defense is such a major debuff. So being on the A1 and being pretty consistent at using it is very good. It isn't a high chance, but you are getting two chances pretty much at it at a 35 if you book it, so not terrible. On the A2, Deathly Ichors attacks one enemy 2 times. Each hit has a 100% chance if you book it of placing a 50% decreased accuracy debuff and a 5% poison debuff for 3 turns on a 3-turn cooldown once booked. Very good ability overall. I love the decreased accuracy. It helps out with a lot of things, especially in Doom Tower as of recently. And then you have the 5% poison, which is just an extra thing. So overall, a really good ability there, and hence why I think he's really good in Clan Boss. You get that decreased accuracy if you do not have like a block debuffs. You get that poison, and you pretty much keep it up at all times because it's a 3-turn cooldown. So you have Soul Feast on the A3. Attack one enemy, has a 100% chance if you book it of placing a 25% weaken debuff for 2 turns, and then heals this champion by 50% of the damage inflicted. And you can drop this down to a 3-turn cooldown as well. So with him, you're getting a poison from the A2, you're getting a decreased defense from the A1, and a weaken off of the A3. He just provides so much with his kit. And then you have his passive, places a 60% increased defense buff on this champion for 2 turns when their HP drops below 75%, and then places a 50% increased attack buff on this champion for 2 turns when their HP drops below 50%, and then you have the active effect, which grants an extra turn when this champion drops below 10%. Pretty cool ability. Obviously, he will not last long if you are not in unkillable when he drops below 10%, but it is pretty cool that he gets that extra turn, and he gets these passive buffs depending on how much his HP drops. So overall though, a very good kit, very good champion from what I've heard. I am working on actually leveling mine, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, overall, pretty dang good champion. Next we have Nekhret, which is going to be a legendary, and this guy is amazing just in terms of survivability for your team. He has a lot of abilities, but yeah, let's go and try to get through him. So he is a defensive based void champion, but yeah, so on the A1 we have attack one enemy 3 times. Each hit has a 20 or 30% chance if you book him of placing a 50% decreased attack debuff for 1 turn. This cannot be resisted, meaning you do not need accuracy on this guy. Unfortunately, the drop attack is only for 1 turn. I wish it was a 2-turn, but it is what it is. Overall, very good A1 though, considering you do not need accuracy to land this. On the A2, we have Legion of the Damned, teams up with allies to attack one enemy. All allies under ally protection buffs placed by this champion will join the attack. Allies joining the attack will use their default skills, and then grants an extra turn if no enemies are killed during this attack. Very, very cool ability, especially for bosses, because you will pretty much guarantee get that extra turn. So yeah, very cool ability there, and it's on a 4-turn cooldown if you book it. On the A3, we have Disturbing Infusion, places a block debuffs buff, an ally protection buff, and a strengthen buff on an ally for 3 turns, and the ally protection buff cannot be removed on a 3-turn cooldown. Extremely helpful for when you have squishy targets on your team in order to protect them. Then you have 2 passives. Unsleeping Aegis, whenever an ally is attacked while under an ally protection buff, which he does place, placed by this champion, obviously, places a shield buff on the ally equal to 30% of this champion's max HP for 2 turns. Occurs only if the ally does not already have a shield buff placed by this champion, so pretty much just cannot stack. And then also decreases the cooldown of this champion's Legion of the Damned skill by 2 turns if the shield buff is placed. The Legion of the Damned skill is his ally attack ability, so really, really cool. You get extra ally attacks, granting him extra turns if you're not killing anything. You're placing a protection shield on the ally that you're already protecting with ally protection, so you definitely keep people alive with him. And then on his other passive, Arise My Minions, places a block debuffs buff, a strengthen buff for 3 turns on an ally with the lowest max HP at the start of each round. Really good for like PvP survivability. Right when you start the round, you are automatically placing protection on your lowest statted person or lowest HP person, which is usually your glass cannon in terms of PvP. So definitely very good at keeping that person alive, because you're also placing that ally protection, the strengthen, and then obviously the other passive is going to kick in. He just does so much with his kit. Definitely good at protection. And then he has the aura for ally resist in all battles by 60. Nothing too big there. There are bigger ally resist auras, but with everything else that he does, honestly, his aura really just doesn't matter. But yeah, extremely good champion. Definitely worth getting, especially for PvP. I actually used him recently in Doom Tower as well as one of my ally attackers for Grithian. But yeah, overall, extremely good champion. Next, we have some Night Rev people. So first, we're going to look at Whisper. So Whisper, I was not around when she was like really big, but apparently she was like really good and then got nerfed. But an attack-based champion. So let's go ahead and jump through her kit real quick. So Softening Drive. Attack one enemy has a 50 or a 75% chance if you book it of placing a 25% weaken debuff for 2 turns on the A1. Definitely not a bad ability. The weaken is obviously important, but it's not as big as decreased defense, but it's never a bad thing, especially with the A1. On the A2, we have Charge Assault. Attack one enemy, places a 50% increase attack buff on this champion for 1 turn before attacking if the target has a higher max HP than this champion, and then will ignore defense if the target is under a weaken debuff, which synergizes with the A1. Not that bad of an ability, selfish a little bit because it's only increased attack on this champion, but yeah, and you have to meet that criteria of the target having a higher max HP, which typically will be the case at higher end dungeons and stuff like that, but still, yeah, not terrible, but not anything amazing. On the A3, have Unyielding Flurry. Attack one enemy 2 times, grants an extra turn if the target is under a decreased defense and a weaken debuff. And it's on a 5-turn cooldown if you end up booking it. So yeah, you do grant the weaken right here. And I do not see a decreased defense as well, unless I'm crazy. Nope. So yeah, unfortunately, you do have to bring a decreased defense, unless there's something with her passive. Let's go read her passive real quick. Has a 10% chance of granting an extra turn whenever this champion lands a critical hit. Increases damage inflicted on bosses by 20%. So yeah, nothing about a decreased defense. But if you do have a decreased defense and a weaken, this could be a very cool ability, granting an extra turn. And obviously you're getting extra turns possibly with the passive. You're going to build her damage. You're going to have 100% crit. So this isn't going to be a very big issue. So yeah, and then you have ally attack in dungeons by 29% for the aura. So definitely not a bad champion, just a very in my opinion, a very unique champion. I did hear that her multipliers are pretty dang good though, so something to try out if you do happen to pull her. She is a void champion, so never gonna have any like weak hits or anything like that there. But yeah, interesting champion overall. Definitely, I'm actually interested in possibly building her. I do have one, so yeah, I'll maybe take a look at it. Next is going to be Tomb Lord. So Tomb Lord is actually a legendary I have been wanting for a long time. I just haven't gotten a support legendary champion. But on the A1 we have Crippling Blows, attacks one enemy 3 times, places a 30% decreased speed debuff on the target for 2 turns if this attack is critical. Pretty much always going to want to build him as damage because of this. It's pretty much 100% chance as long as you have the accuracy and you crit. So definitely a good ability there, and decreased speed is very good. On the A2 you have Death Burst, attack one enemy, has a 100% chance if you book it, placing 2 5% poison debuffs on all enemies for 1 turn. That's really good because it's placing it on all enemies. And then if the hit is critical, has a 100% chance once again, if booked, of placing 4 5% poison debuffs on all enemies for 1 turn. You're going to build him with 100% crit. Let's just say it right there, just due to his A1 and his A2. So yeah, very, very good ability right there. And then on the A3, we have Blight, decrease the turn meter of all enemies with less than 50% HP by 100%. Very, very cool. And then has a 80 or 100% chance if you book it of placing a 50% decreased attack debuff on all enemies for 2 turns. Also has a 100% chance if booked of placing a 60% decreased defense debuff on all enemies for 2 turns. Gets an extra turn if an enemy's turn meter is decreased by this skill. Yeah, does so much in this. Is on a 5-turn cooldown if booked. So yeah, you're pretty much dropping turn meter by 100% if they're lower than 50% HP, placing a decreased attack, placing a decreased defense, and granting an extra turn if you fulfilled that first part. So overall, extremely good ability in my opinion, especially for arena, or even messing around in Doom Tower waves and you are having a hard time, and you get them below the 50% mark. You can just pretty much take a whole nother turn and get your allies a whole nother turn. So yeah, overall great ability. And then Aura, increase ally defense in arena battles by 42%. Very good arena aura in my opinion. I do not like, I've seen him used in arena but not too often. But yeah, overall I think he's an extremely good champion. I've wanted him for such a long time just because of his A2 ability for spreading poisons everywhere. But yeah, definitely worth getting if you can grab him. Definitely good for faction wars, for PvP, and for Doom Tower in my opinion. So next we're gonna look at a dwarf by the name of Gala. So Gala is a void attack based champion. So on the A1 we have Brutal Bludgeon, attack one enemy 2 times, each hit ignores 30% of the target's defense, places a shield buff on this champion for 2 turns. The value of the shield is equal to 20% of the damage inflicted. She hits extremely hard, so this being an A1 is very, very cool. On the A2, Fearless Aggression, attack one enemy, ignores 50% of the target's defense when attacking under a shield debuff, which can be placed by the A1. And then heals this champion by 50% of the damage inflicted, and then places a shield buff on this champion equal to any surplus heal for 3 turns. Once again, ignoring defense right off the bat if under a shield, and then healing this champion up, so pretty much just keeps herself healthy, and then places a shield regardless if you heal above 100%, so that's pretty cool. And then on the A3 we have Sheer Swagger, attack one enemy 3 times, each hit ignores 25% of the target's defense, then grants an extra turn if this champion has full HP after using this skill. So yeah, pretty dang good. A lot of people put her in a lifesteal gear set just in order, like if they used A3, she heals all the way up, then grants that extra turn, and then you can go into the A2 or something like that. So yeah, overall she hits like a truck halfway because she ignores armor a lot through her abilities, but just because of also her multipliers. A lot of people like to already place her in some type of divine set in order to have her with a shield automatically. So you can go from the A3 into the A2 after you get that extra turn and stuff like that. And then you're ignoring 50% with the A2 because you have the shield from the Divine set. So yeah, overall, extremely good champion when you're looking for a single target hitter. For PvP, she's a single target nuker like none other. For single target just capabilities, she's just an extremely good champion. And then you have an aura, increase ally attack in all battles by 25%. Pretty basic aura, nothing too special. But yeah, this is a champion I've been wanting to build for a very long time, so I'll definitely be looking at building her. And then the last one is actually going to be a Shadowkin from the new faction, which is always a needed thing, especially when Faction Wars eventually comes out for it, and it's going to be Jintoro. So Jintoro looks amazing, absolutely great on the art side of things, and let's go through the abilities. So he is an attack-based legendary champion. On the A1, Soul Drinker, attack one enemy, grants an extra turn if this attack kills an enemy. It's an A1, so not sure how often you will be killing an enemy with this ability, but not a bad thing if you happen to. A2, Blood Freeze, attack one enemy, steals 100% of the target's turn meter, and then decrease the cooldown of Oni's Rage by 1 turn if the target is immune to turn meter reduction effects, which I'm guessing Oni's Rage is going to be the A3. Pretty cool ability, especially when using it against bosses, because typically, like stuff such as Dragon or Clan Boss, you are going to get this turn meter reduction, or the cooldown reduction, because they are immune to that turn meter reduction. And you can drop this down to a 3 turn cooldown, so pretty cool ability. But overall, like, stealing a turn meter 100% is not a bad thing, and decreasing a cooldown is not a bad thing either. So on both sides, pretty cool. On the A3, we have Oni's Rage. Attack one enemy, places a decreased defense and 25% weaken debuff for 2 turns. So you're getting both big versions of decreased defense and weaken, which is extremely good on one ability. And then we'll attack 5 times instead of 1 on every 4th use of this skill against the same target in 1 round. And yeah, this can be dropped down to a 3 turn cooldown. So really cool, because the A2 will help reduce this cooldown, especially against bosses. So he'll use Oni's Rage a lot more often, which will proc this second part. I don't know how often this will happen. I've heard that Jintoro is really good from people that have had him. I have no experience with him whatsoever, so I can't tell you. But the decreased defense weaken part already is extremely good. With you reducing it with the A2, he's pretty much going to keep it up a lot more often. So yeah, and then we have his passive. All turn meter fill effects are increased by 50% when used on this champion, which is extremely good. So definitely pair him with some turn meter boosters. And then you have the aura, increase ally attack in all battles by 29%, which is definitely not a bad ability, especially for an attack-based champion. So overall, his kit looks really cool. I definitely am looking to get him if I can, possibly. But yeah, definitely seems like you do very good on long boss fights for like clan boss and stuff like that. But yeah, overall, seems extremely good. Not exactly sure how he is though. But yeah, so that is what is in store for the 10 times this weekend. So nothing too major in my opinion. I'm looking at the list right now over here. Pretty much I would be looking at going after Deacon Armstrong. Nekhret would be really good if you do not have him. I always wanted a Tomb Lord. Gala is definitely good for like if you're needing an arena nuker and stuff like that. And then Jintoro, obviously going to be good for Shadowkin once Faction Wars comes out, and I've heard he's a clan boss maniac. So overall, those would be like the 4 that you would really want to go after, in my opinion. Anax as well, I guess. But yeah, nothing like, I would say nothing account changing on this list of 10 times, in my opinion. But the bad thing is like, you guys are going to have to kind of participate in this 10 times in order to participate in the summons rush. So in my opinion, it's not a bad thing, I guess, to go after champions from this 10 times, because you're gonna have to participate in the summons rush anyway. So yeah, overall, those would be the champions I would go after in particular if you can. So yeah, I guess it's not a bad 10 times, but it's not the best 10 times. No account changing champions on this 10 times in my opinion at least. So yeah, but yeah, let me know what you guys think about this 10 times. Let me know if you guys are just going to go the mystery shard route for the summons rush, or if you are actually going to be summoning for some of these champions, which ones you guys are wanting. Also, let me know what you guys have been thinking about the clan versus clan stuff. There's just been a lot of negative feedback with clan versus clan stuff. In my opinion, I think it's been good. My clan actually has been pretty enthusiastic about it. And it's not just because we lost the initial one, the one that was the beta. We won this one this time around, but overall there's just been a lot of negative feedback about stuff. So let me know what you guys have been thinking about the clan versus clan stuff. I would like to see the feedback from the community. But yeah, I will talk to you guys later, and good luck on your shard pulls if you pull any. See ya.